Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Russian GP of the Bwoah Racing League. We had a weekend where we didn't have a race, first time around of course. So much like what happened with the German GP, but over there with the German GP, we decided to postpone it to do a redo of the entire race after a series of events which were unfortunate for the drivers themselves. But regardless, we're here today for the Russian GP. Drivers are lobbying up as we speak. Meanwhile, a bit about two drivers in the Bwoah Racing League who've actually gone ahead and explored something in football. To be specific, the Fantasy Premier League. Football fans will be aware of this even more, but might as well go to a fun video they have, and maybe after the race you can go ahead and take a look at the video. Let's head into it.
Your intro, my game week, your game week. Because you are interested in players, I'm interested in good fixtures next week. Okay. My battery's already dead.
Yep, and that was Big Man Joe and Rocket Man, who are doing the Fantasy Premier League chat as part of West Football. Meanwhile, looks like the drivers are ready to go for short qualifying, so we might as well head right into it. Yep, the Russian GP Sochi Autodrom. That's where we will be heading to today. Quite the entertaining race to drivers who, to fans and drivers who aren't a fan of Hamilton, to be specific, in the real Russian GP. But this time around, the front runners of the drivers' standings in the Bwoah Racing League are not racing here today, which means it gives Accelerate, the only other driver who's in the top three, to make an incredible stride, to say the least. But 14 drivers here with us today. Let's see how it goes for each of them. Looks like a bunch of them are coming out as we speak. Let's go down the order. And yes, Ferrello, he has been in the race to 0R if you follow the casual race series. But here today, he's making his debut in the Bwoah Racing League. Hopefully we see him going into the next season as well. But he'll be alongside an incredible driver, KDB, in the Williams. And for those of you wondering, yes, Rudra is MIA today. He's busy with a bunch of stuff, so he had to take races hiatus from the Bwoah Racing League. He'll be back with us next weekend. But for now, it's just me and a handful of y'all in the chat. So make sure you drop who you're here for. Who do you think will come out on top at the end of this qualifying session? Short qualifying, each driver gets a chance to set a lap time which determines their grid position going into the race, and thereafter we race. Let's go on board with Ferrello as he comes out on his outlap. Sector 3 goes yellow already. Wonder what's happened there. Let's pull out a bunch of stuff to make it easier for you and for me through the race. He scored a podium. Yep, he was on the podium of race 0R, one of the races on his debut. Let's see if we can do the same thing here today at the Russian GP. A podium would be great on debut in a Williams, realistic performance Williams, no doubt. I think that's a part of the league which really tends to be forgotten or ignored, so to speak. Sadly, we won't be continuing with realistic performance going into the next season. which will be all the more cooler than this one for sure. We'll assure that. But meanwhile, Sector 3 goes yellow. Looks like there's an incredibly slow Ferrari on track there. Will be Rusty Nish. His teammate is nowhere to be seen. We've got VK, who's a reserve driver, so to speak, in the league, who comes in every time a driver is not attending a race. Of course, he's not busy himself. He's not all the time available, so to speak. But Ferrero's lap gets invalidated, and let's head down to VK. Okay, VK out and about in the Alfa Romeo. He will be stepping in for Big Man Joe. Points for the team, but no points for Big Man Joe. Of course, Sector 1 and 3 go yellow. Sector 3 go yellow, and VK, as I said, will begin his hot lap. Let's see what he brings to the table, what he brings to the league as he steps in second time around in the Bwoah Racing League. Vic 356 saying the first lap time here at Russia, 1 minute 35.548, quickly beaten by Freeze in the Mercedes AMG 134.130, and SV11 puts himself up there. That is Srivatsan, who was our pit lane pal and is the co-commentator at Race to 0R. Lap times being set as Sector 1 goes yellow. Only Kapi puts himself 5th fastest so far, but Freeze's time looking bright. Of course, Mercedes domination, especially considering it is realistic performance. We could possibly see Freeze on pole. KDB and Big Man Joe are out of the picture, so might play into his favor. But let's not forget Rusty Nish, his closest competitor. Freeze has 1 race win in the league, and Rusty Nish has 2. Maybe Freeze equals with Rusty Nish, KDB, Big Man Joe, Supreme Leader, all the top drivers in the league, so to speak. Let's see, let's find out. VK's lap looking decent enough, 121 seconds coming out of Sector 3, entering Sector 3 in fact. And 90-degree corners are a highlight of this track as VK goes through the penultimate and the final corner and the last finish line. Forgive me for that, seemed like I had a bit of an issue, but VK sets 7th fastest time. He goes on another fast lap instantly. Sector 3 goes yellow. So something I want to mention, I got caught off guard in fact, is that the final corner is so close that the finish line is so close. Maybe that's the right way to say it. The finish line is so close to the final corner, so you don't really have that momentum to battle competitors to the finish line, so to speak, in the final lap. Real close to the last corner, that finish line. So hopefully, maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see someone get a terrible exit, and at the same time, someone get a brilliant exit, and thereafter, see them fight for the finish. Fight till the finish. Fight for the finish. Maybe front runners finishing that way. That would be incredible for sure. Meanwhile, looks like we have lost VPA, who is in the Alfa Romeo. Looks like he's having internet issues. Unfortunate. Accelerate. The man to watch out for, but has invalidated his lap right now in the qualifying session. Rusty Nish, like I said, has set a better lap time with over 10.5 minutes to go here at short qualifying at Russia. Sochi Autodrom. The fans in general are split towards this track. I think a couple of them enjoy it, but most of them aren't really fans. But let's just go up the order. Srivatsan comes in the pits as 2 drivers freeze and a Haas, which is Seto RC18 if I'm not wrong, because UK isn't here yet. Let's see when UK will come around. That will be for sure a possible competitor for the win. We've seen all these drivers, Fries, Rusty Nish, and Seto RC18, and UK as well, take the battle to the front runners in case one of them are really not participating. On board Fries on his outlap. And yes, that is Mr. Wex in the McLaren. Let's see what kind of lap time he'll put in here today. Sector 3 looking better than only VK, in fact. Yeah, VK. As he comes around the penultimate corner. Okay, he was trying to go into the pits. That was disaster for him, but right now he is 5th fastest. And Fries will start another fast lap. Let's see if he can beat Rusty Nish this time around. The Mercedes AMG car is a strong one at this track. The Ferrari is no joke and Rusty Nish isn't either. Let's see, first 90-degree corner. Second, in fact, the one going into what was technically a 90-degree. Gouts has joined, which means we've got another McLaren on track. Incredibly slow here, Fries, which means he will start another fast lap, I'm sure. Didn't seem to have the confidence going into this one. Yep, slows down incredibly. Make sure he lets by that McLaren, or is that a Renault? Could be a Renault, HC56. Meanwhile, Srivatsan on his outlap, accelerate on his outlap. Vex still in the pits. Sicknig coming through around sector 2 on a fast lap. We've seen consistent top 5 finishes by Sicknig. That's something we noticed probably since one of the races of the German GP, in specific the German GP that wasn't, in fact, considering we will have the German GP after the Abu Dhabi GP at the end of the season. Really nice times to switch it on. Maybe Srivatsan coming into the team made the difference. But regardless, as he mentioned, his previous teammate not active on comms. Are they active on comms now, Srivatsan and Sicknig? You really don't know. But hopefully, the performance of both drivers should be enough to say whether or not they're doing well. Sicknig, a risky move there, going into the pits that late, almost clipped the pit wall entrance on the left. Did have a moment of contact with the right hand side wall, but of course God seems to have issues. So Wex on his outlap, accelerate will begin his fast lap. Onboard accelerate. Pushing to the limit. He's third in the driver standings as we speak. He could possibly jump in as second, given that KDB will not receive any points in this race. And sector 2 looking good enough. Sector 3, final corner, race time. Cross the line, goes second fastest, beats Fries this time. But of course, I'm sure Fries will be starting another lap, and accelerate looking to go the distance and actually push Rusty Nish off that provisional pole he's on. And starts another fast lap. We'll come back to him in just a minute at sector 3. Rusty Nish is at sector 3 as well. 1 minute 27.28 as he dives into the pits. Everyone taking a risky entrance into the pits. That's not too wise. They're going to get caught off guard at some point if they continue to do so. Meanwhile, Freeze has had his he was on his outlap. He's been on his outlap for quite some time now. Unusual. But we saw one of the sectors go yellow for a minute there. VK currently the slowest time. Ferrello slow as well, up in down in P12. Srivatsan surprisingly in P4. So could he take the fight to these front runners? Srivatsan hasn't won a race. Srivatsan hasn't been on the podium in the Bwoah Racing League. It'll be his first time around if he can. But a fine driver he is, as Freeze starts his fast lap. He needs to close that gap of 400ths of a second. 500ths of a second to accelerate, and the gap's only larger when it comes to Rusty Nish, who's in the 1 minute 33. What a lap he's set. That's almost a second. Yes, it is. Over a second. 1.3 seconds to close in. Freeze, can he do it? He's got the car that can. It's a matter of time whether we see him as the fastest driver in the qualifying session or not. 3 minutes, just under 3 minutes left to shock qualifying. Time's looking fine. Bunch of the drivers still in the pits. We will see most of them come out for their out laps. It's the last shot, putting in a lap time that matters. Now the final corner here comes, across the line, goes second fastest, puts accelerate down the order, puts himself in the 1 minute 33 seconds range, but of course not as fast as Rusty Nish yet. As Rusty Nish comes out on his out lap, Freeze starts another fast lap perhaps. Sector 2 goes yellow. Let's go down the order. It seems like up accelerate will should start his fast lap. Looks like he's his out lap. Surprising to see Srivatsan still in the pits. We reckon we'll see him put in another lap time. Meanwhile, sector 2 and 3 go yellow. I'm guessing it's because of slow moving cars. The other racing point, High Rocks 24, seems to have encountered traffic in one of the Toro Rossos. Because only Kapi in the Racing Point. The first 3 races he's had in the Bwoah Racing League, he was on the podium twice. Brilliant stuff, to say the least. Both drivers, we see them firing on track, always a sight to see, as Sicknig seems to have had an issue of sorts. Looks like, or a voluntary disconnection perhaps. I'm guessing he feels 1 minute 35.179 is the best he can do, 7th fastest, but he has the risk of Thunderbird, Setu RC18, High Rocks 24 and the other drivers for beating his time, as in the penultimate bunch of corners comes only Kapi losing a bit of his rear there through sector 3, but across the penultimate corner and the final corner, only Kapi, where do you put yourself? Do you better your time? No, you don't. 6th fastest is all that you can do. Shock qualifying ends in a matter of seconds, and both the front runners are in the pits. Now this opens up opportunities for Srivatsan, who's on his outlap. So it's a fight to the line. Yes, he just starts his fast lap in the nick of time. Accelerate is already on a fast lap. Rusty Nish and Freeze might have made a mistake here. If Accelerate and Srivatsan both put in a time in the 1 minute 33 seconds range, they're possibly dethroning Rusty Nish off his provisional pole and pushing away Freeze from his front row start. 356 sets a time, and a better one at that. Sick Nick goes down the order. Mr. Wex goes down the order as well. 7th fastest 356. Good work there. Setu RC18 still out on track, trying to set a fast lap, which could put him in the top 10. Let's find out if that happens. But meanwhile, on board right now is Accelerate. Sector 3, 1 minute 18. Is it gonna cut it? Is the question. And yep, Ferrello will stay 13th fastest. Setu RC18 will stay 11th fastest. Looks like there are 4 drivers out on track on their fast laps. Let's Accelerate. SB11 Accelerate comes across the line. Couldn't do any better. Rusty Nish still on provisional pole. But Srivatsan, can you pull off something here and put yourself on pole position? Can you? Racing Point incredibly slow there. Clearly not going to aim for a better lap time. Yep, BRL 24 dives in the pits. Across the final corner comes Srivatsan. Does he better his time? No, he doesn't either. Only Copy comes across the line, stays 6th fastest, which means for the 3rd time, Rusty Nish is on pole position in the Bwoah Racing League. Best time 1 minute 33.610. That time couldn't be beaten no matter what. Brilliant stuff. Ferrari in pole position. And the race to watch out for as the Mercedes AMG Freeze is running will be starting off in P2. And like we've seen in the Italian GP and like we've seen before when Rusty Nish is on pole and Freeze is in P2, it'll be a race to watch out for, no doubt. And yep, like expected, the first one in the chat is Only Cuppy's friend, Lil Bobby. What's up, man? Nice to have company for once. And Only Cuppy is right now the 6th fastest guy on track. So he will be starting P6. You can make that jump. Turn 2 is a highlight, of course, going into Russia. And we are ready for the race. 50% race distance at the Sochi Autodrom. Rusty Nish on pole, Freeze starting off P2, and at P3 is Accelerate. Let's see what will unravel at the Federation, at the Russian Federation. VK seems to be quite excited, all set to go. He will be starting at the back of the pack. Along with VPA if he manages to connect. But right now, of course, we will be ready to race at Russia. Ferrello starting at the back of the pack himself as well on his debut in the Bwoah Racing League. Clearly he'll take time to fit in, but meanwhile, like we can see, it's a Ferrari and Mercedes front row. And they're ready to go. Yes, they're off already. Seems to be like we have a bit of a moment. Ferrari going into the first turn, trying to hold on. Mercedes pushing, and in the middle of the pack, quite the battle the Racing Points are having. And Accelerate trying to get in the mix with the front runners as well. Srivatsan holding on to his position as Hyrox 24 breathes down his neck, and we've got a spin as Gouts, Mr. Wex go down the order, and Vix 356 trying to take the battle to the Racing Points. And Only Cuppy has someone to worry about. Accelerate dropping down the order as Srivatsan takes the fight to the Toro Rosso in the Red Bull. And the Racing Points, how close they are. Look, as Only Cuppy will try to get that slipstream, goes wide, disaster for him. Vix 356, this could be your moment. And up in front, the Ferrari and Mercedes will be battling in no time, within half a second of each other, the two drivers. And yes, it is Racing Point versus Racing Point going in the next couple of corners. Hyrox 24 and Only Cuppy, brilliant stuff there. Tries to get the inside line, doesn't quite get it, pushes Only Cuppy a bit wide there. and only Cuppy will hold on to that position as Wix356 drops positions unusually, as Sicknick taking the fight to Wix356 this time around closes that gap incredibly. Sicknick on a roll as well. Ferrero climbed up the order pretty darn well. He's up into P10. Freeze just set the fastest lap time, and looks like meanwhile when we were concentrating in the midfield, Freeze has made the move on Rusty Nish, got it done, and Rusty Nish will look towards turn 2 for sure to jump into the lead once again. Freeze is leading the race, accelerate within half a second of Rusty Nish as well. Irox24 gets a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. And Steve Watson has put himself in a podium finishing position. But too soon to tell, of course, with over 25 laps to go. But looks like this is the closest he's ever been in the top 3, Steve Watson. Goes wide, they're not gonna help him as the race continues, and look at the midfield, how close they are. Wix356, Sicknick and Irox24, and the Haas is getting into the mix there. And yes, Seto RC18 trying to find a gap on Wix356. From what I heard, Wix356 has internet issues, so it won't be the most ideal of races for him, but if we can pull it off, then fantastic. Clearly the pace of the Renault is out matching the Seto RC18's Haas. Sicknick cutting the corner there, unusual not to get a penalty, but Sicknick taking the fight to Irox24 on his tail. For how long is the question? Yep, slipstream, he will have it, accelerate, trying to look for a gap. Watson being dangerous there, and he will get that done as Rusty Nish in front gets an overtake done on the Mercedes. A double overtake in the front as they get pushed wide, Toro Rosso and Ferrari. But the Ferrari is holding on to it as the Mercedes takes the fight to him, wheel to wheel, going to the next set of corners. Look at these drivers go in the front of the pack as the Toro Rosso holds on to the lead ahead of the Red Bull. Going wide there, both of them. I think there was a bit of a contact, and Freeze has lost 2 positions as Accelerate goes up into P2. Now Freeze has a racing point to worry about. Watson taking the fight to Accelerate, has it, and now Watson in a fantastic turn of events is running P2. We got a racing point for Freeze to worry about. Disaster for him going into those turns. Rusty Nish somehow kept that race lead, and looks like only Cuppy's friends are in the chat. And yes, only Cuppy is on the tail of Freeze. Brilliant moment for y'all to join as he takes the fight to a Mercedes. Yep, Freeze trying his best to take it to another driver on track, which is Accelerate. He will have Slipstream, and going to the next corner, tries around the outside, actually has a relatively bad exit. Watson holding on to that P2 spot firmly, and going on to the main straight. Only Cuppy should get the momentum he needs going to the next couple of corners to attack Freeze and contest for position. But Freeze looks closer than ever to Accelerate, dives down the inside, and he has contact with Watson. Disaster for the 2 drivers, and Watson, who was running P2, is forced to go down the order after that unfortunate incident with Freeze. Which means only Cuppy is now running P3. What a moment as his friends join the chat. Only Cuppy is now in the podium positions and taking the fight to the likes of Accelerate. But he goes wide there, unfortunate, but he will make sure he doesn't make mistakes like that going to the next couple of laps of the race. And if you haven't noticed yet, Rusty Nish, 2-second gap. Nothing to worry about so far. A 2-second gap in Sochi is really something you can be happy about. But right now, only Cuppy taking the fight, Accelerate, wheel to wheel, going to the next couple of corners. Can Accelerate hold on to that? Nope, the Toro Rosso just doesn't have it in it. And only Cuppy moves up to P2 all the way from P6 within a lap. Now his task, of course, is to hold off, accelerate, but more importantly, take the fight to Rusty-ish. The last time we had a Racing Point winner, it was down the order, two of the drivers go Freeze and Srivatsan, the two drivers who had an incident in the previous lap. But of course, like I was saying the last time, a Racing Point was a race winner was when the Supreme Leader, who's right now in Renault but not there in the race today, was in Racing Point. So clearly, it'll be a first time around. It'll be only Kapi's first win here in the Bwoah Racing League if he can take the fight to Rusty-ish in the next 22 laps. Almost seemed like a fairy tale ending. The start was a fairy tale start for sure for Srivatsan, but that incident, I don't know, the stewards will review that. Freeze was being a bit too ambitious, diving down the inside in that corner for sure. And let's bring out tires, as looks like Ferrello in the mediums. I think that's something commendable. On the mediums, he's fought his way up the pack incredibly in the realistic performance. Williams all the way from the back of the pack. Of course, Thunderbird hasn't set a Thunder lap yet, but loses a position right in front of us as he had a bad exit in that part of the track. Mr. Wex will be smiling as he climbs up in a P8. Mr. Wex has a bad exit and Thunderbird takes his position back. He's like, thank you very much, Mr. Wex. Keep at it. Keep at it. Oh, loses his rear coming around the final corner, Thunderbird, which means Mr. Wex possibly has a window of opportunity to take the fight and get the position he just had a couple of laps ago. Glitches there for Thunderbird. Mr. Wex will get the position he wanted. Running P6, that gap needs to be closed for sure, is what will be running in his mind right now. Sicknig in the top 5, XG56. Long time coming. He is in the top 5 after quite some time now. In one of the races in the league, he is a podium finisher, to be honest, and seeing him at the back of the pack with multiple setbacks wasn't great for us. And going a bit wide there, Ferrello. I think everyone tends to go a bit wide at that part of the track. That is in sector 2. Because Sicknig, all the front runners are on softs except Ferrello, who's in 6th. So top 10, all on softs. All the drivers' tires are of the same age. Only Ferrello on the mediums. He's on a different strategy. This could play into his favor. As far as I know, Rusty-ish right now, his gap has reduced. In fact, not too ideal. Only Kapi doing some fantastic work there in P2, closing that gap to Rusty-ish. Every corner needs to be attacked precisely. Every lap needs to be perfect. Because if you're racing with the likes of these guys, you gotta be perfect. As Accelerate dives into the pits at lap 7 for a change of tires, will come out on the mediums is what I'm guessing. Yes, he will. He'll come out in P10. Nope, he's coming out on the hards. At the back of my mind, I was thinking, Accelerate, will you throw people off? He's probably thinking, about the alternate strategy, but of course he's coming out on the hards. He's probably thinking about finishing the race with it. VK currently running P2. Safety cars out on track as one of the drivers must have had an issue for sure. And yep, it was Gouts. Gouts has DNF'd. Which part of the track, I wonder, looks like it's already been cleared. Safety car throws things out into, well, anyone's guess, so to speak. And looks like Accelerate must be wondering, if only I'd pitted under safety car, might have helped me. No, he would have had all the more time to decide, but right now Rusty-ish leading the race. Only Kapi in P2. That gap from between only Kapi and 65.6, 7.4 seconds or so. But of course that won't matter anymore. Safety car's out. everyone will get packed up together once again. Freeze, disappointing start off P2, right now running P12, and the gap wasn't in his favor as Rusty Nish dives in the pits, will be followed by Only Cuppy diligently. He's on the tail of Rusty Nish. He wants the win clearly enough. 20 laps to go, and 19 now as the safety car stays out on track. Rusty Nish will come out on a set of mediums. Only Cuppy going to the pits will come out on a set of hards. Now this is where things get interesting, folks. Can Rusty Nish make those mediums work till the end of the race? Because his competitor will be breathing down his neck with a set of hards. So he's got the momentum in the initial set of laps to build a gap. He needs to keep and needs to hope that it sticks, in fact, going to the final laps of the race. But in fact, the whole track pits for tires, of course, and accelerate in a spectacular turn of events. Might have timed that pit stop perfectly as he jumps up into P4 on the hard tires. And looks like there's a car in the middle of the track. Looks like it is Hyrox 24. I wonder what happened to him. Hyrox 24 goes into the pits. Funny they're seeing that car in the middle of the track. Yep, no, it is Only Cuppy. This is unusual. Disqualified from session after being parked in a dangerous location. This was the driver running P2 with hard tires just 10 seconds ago, and now he's been disqualified. Disaster, to say the least. When things were seeing up for Only Cuppy, now he's been disqualified from the race. Oh Lord, I wonder what happened there. Internet connection issues, I'm guessing. But a promising race turned sour as Only Cuppy gets disqualified from the Russian GP of the Bwoah Racing League. Freeze gets a 3-second time penalty. His teammate almost misses him there, Hyrox 24. But the safety car will continue. I wonder what happened to Only Cuppy. And BC56 running P2 now with medium tires. Accelerate and Ferrello with hard tires in P3 and P4. What a race this is turning out to be. We expected some incredible fights between Freeze and Rusty Nish, but now Rusty Nish has a bunch of newbies he competes with, of course, but really hasn't gone wheel to wheel often. He's had that moment in the German GP that wasn't with BRL where it was a constant debate going into the next 2 weeks, in fact, in the league itself. And right now, both of them will be fighting for the race lead in the laps to come. Now I wonder how that's going to turn out. Let's hope both of them give each other the right amount of space. Not many post-race arguments, so to speak, post-race debates. But right now, car number 22 and car number 38, if I'm not wrong, yep, 36, my bad, 36 are the drivers to watch out for. Accelerate in the mix as well. Looks like we've got someone in the commentators box. Hold on, folks, as I make sure we can hear them properly. And right about now, I'm going to take a wild guess and say we've got Only Cuppy in the commentators box.
No, this is Gouts.
Oh, Gouts, what's up?
Yeah, so my controller had issues, doesn't work anymore.
Oops.
So I was late for quali, and then I joined the race and it gave me a Ferrari.
Whoa, okay.
Which I insisted I race with, but the others were not very happy with it.
Of course. So how did you DNF? So that was it, the losing connection. Voluntary retirement.
I was not supposed to be in the Ferrari.
Uh-huh.
So
okay.
I was told to go into the pits and Ferrari.
Alright. Cool stuff. Stay with us, Guts. As the safety car's out, Only Cuppy was running P2, has been disqualified from the session. So a promising race turned into a disaster for him. Vic356 is running P2. We've seen fights between Rusty Nish and Vic356 on track before. How do you think this will turn out?
I think Rusty Nish definitely has the upper hand here. He's pretty good in Russia. He's a good driver as well. So I think there's a good chance he can win this race, assuming he doesn't make any mistakes in between. I think so far he doesn't have any penalties as well. He's run a clean race.
Yep, so far so good. But there's quite a lot of laps to go.
But I think he has a good chance if he doesn't make any mistakes. Only Kapi was unfortunate. I think he disconnected and then the car just parked on track and he disqualified. He was doing really well.
Yep, and race restart. Looks like fights will be taken to each other as trying to dive at least, sickening. We've seen Freeze dive down the inside at that part of the track and take out Srivatsan. So clearly sickening held back from that move. Ferrello taking the fight to accelerate, who's currently running P3. Thoughts on this driver? I don't know if you noticed, Gauds, he was the debut podium finisher in the race to 0R.
I did notice, and it's brilliant how he is actually keeping that position in the Williams. So I think, wow, it's absolutely brilliant because that Williams apparently, from what we've heard KDB say, the Williams hardly ever moves, and it's a pain to turn in that car. And the fact that he's in P4 itself is absolutely brilliant.
Well, clearly he started at the back of the pack, and only Kapi is probably watching on this disastrous race. But Setu RC18 now in the top 6. Mr. Wex, your teammate, is in the top 7 as well. Freeze making that move at the back of the pack, having quite the fight with Harryox24.
So it was quite unfortunate that Freeze had that incident with Shivi. But I think he'll recover. He'll come back up.
Yeah, but of course he was running like P2 in the top 5. He ran wide in one part of the track and looks like his disaster Thunderbird parked on track.
And he resets as well. Looks like there's a broken... Is there a broken part? Somebody's...
VK as well.
There seems to be some debris on track.
Ferrello is falling down the order.
Ferrello, I think he's losing time on the straights. A lot of time on the straights.
Or had
it's
a bit...
Williams.
Yep, had a bit of an incident. Harryox24 will get that move done on Ferrello as well.
Without DRS, which is, I mean, brilliant.
Yep, but just for a second, Ferrello grabs the position again as he gets that fine exit going into turn 2.
This is gonna be an interesting battle to watch. Very interesting.
Yeah. Harryox24 in a capable car, Ferrello in a questionably capable car. And right now, fight for P8. But let's talk about that incident like we were saying, Freeze and Srivatsan. If you noticed, I don't know if you actually saw that incident live, but Freeze was very ambitious, diving down the inside, and it almost, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say this, but it almost looked like it was on purpose because he just rammed into Srivatsan.
Okay, so I was on the general chat when this was happening, and Freeze's game seems to be glitching a lot.
Oh, okay.
So I have a feeling we can't really blame him entirely. But then again, I didn't see the incident, but I did realize when it happened because Freeze and Shivi were talking about this in the general chat, and Freeze seemed to be complaining about a lot of glitches in this game. So because of that, I have a feeling he would have lost maybe control for a little bit.
Yep.
And that would have caused the incident. Maybe he tried to brake early, but his car just jumped. It's a possibility.
And
but Shivi seems to be doing well.
Yep, and in front of him, your teammate just pulled off an incredible overtake after being ambitious the previous corner around. He got a 5-second for time penalty for corner cutting, but right now he's running P5.
Absolutely brilliant. He needs to bring home the points for McLaren today. I hope he gets a podium. I really do.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'm pretty sure he's sitting there hoping for the same because he's lost out on a teammate. 3-second time penalty for Srivatsan there after multiple warnings. But Setu RC18 in between that McLaren and Red Bull. Let's see if we can hold Srivatsan off.
Mr. Vex will have DRS on the next straight as well. This is going to be good to watch.
Yep, and he's got Sickening, the other Red Bull in front. The gap between Rusty Nash and Vic356 is still just over 1.5 seconds and seems to be climbing.
Rusty Nash has extremely good control over ERS. He really knows how to manage his ERS, his tires and his fuel.
Yep. Clearly two-time race winner. That's proof enough. And Mr. Vex, your teammate, taking the fight to Sicknig. Even Sicknig looked like he was off to a fantastic start. But Srivatsan stronger than anyone, and down the order, like we had mentioned, Ferrello and Hyrox24 had that battle, and Hyrox24's out of the track and rejoins.
Wonder what happened there.
It was definitely after a battle with Ferrello, that's for sure.
It's sad to see Ferrello dropping so many positions because of the car, but then again he's got a different strategy than the others. He's got a slower tire as well.
Yep.
Harry Rocks is pitting, he doesn't have part of his wing.
Oh, disaster. But your teammate Mr. Vex taking the fight to that Red Bull, fighting for position, wheel to wheel, going into turn 1. Can he hold on to that? Closes the window pretty much. Real tight there. Sicknig being aggressive as he always is.
I think Mr. Vex will close the move in the next DRS straight. He'll make it stick. He'll get that P4.
Okay. Seems like you're very ambitious as your teammate. And Sicknig is currently glitching a bit as well.
Looks like a really good fight here.
Clearly.
And, Mr. Vex had a horrible start as well. Into turn 1, I think Thunderbird and Mr. Vex had a bit of a collision. And that caused both of them to spin out, I think.
Unfortunately.
Again, I was supposed to drive slow in the Ferrari, so I could only see them rejoining the track.
And right behind is Srivatsan taking the fight to Setu RC18. Will have the slipstream he needs. Will hold back for a while at least. Closest drivers.
Almost made the position, almost made it stick, but Sicknig, brilliant defending. Brilliant.
And it's both the Red Bulls having to fight for position, and Setu RC18 in front of Srivatsan will be caught off guard right about now, being very careful there, Srivatsan, this time around.
Yep, best to be careful because last thing Srivatsan needs is people telling him what to do.
Exactly, 3-second time penalty for VK, and Sicknig will try his best to fend off Mr. Vex as he goes around, dives on the inside, in fact, going to the next corner. And like you said,
brilliant move. A brilliant move.
But he still has.
Srivatsan is still dueling with Setu.
Yep, but he still got Sicknig on his tail. Mr. Vex, can he fend off the Red Bull?
I have a feeling the position is his.
Okay. So now, clearly,
because Sicknig seems to be going on a higher ERS mode and Mr. Vex is on 0. So that very fact, the very fact that Mr. Vex is pulling away with a lower ERS mode means he's gonna make the stick.
Clearly, and both the Red Bulls in the top 10. Setu RC18 running P6, time penalties all around for the drivers. As Ferrello running P8 right now. Thunderbird 2 seconds off him. The drivers closest to each other, Srivatsan and Setu RC18, as sector 1 goes yellow, dives down the inside, cuts that corner. Srivatsan position either.
Not yet. Patience, Mr. Srivatsan.
Dives on the inside, bad exit for Setu RC18, tries to close that gap for Srivatsan, but Srivatsan gets the move done for now, and contact there, and Setu RC18 holding on to position. Corner after corner.
Srivatsan gets that position, but he should not have closed the door. I feel like that he should have conceded position to Setu.
Clearly, but he did what he did, and slipstream he has Setu RC18 trying around the outside this time around, a rather unorthodox space to make the move, or maybe it isn't, but Setu RC18, a race winner at the Bwoah Racing League, taking the fight to Srivatsan, who's never won a race here.
Yeah, there's gonna be some words about that incident after the race is over.
I'm sure, as always, there is. And the largest gap is between Thunderbird and Freeze, 18.5 seconds almost.
And Freeze is dropping. he was actually a little, I think it was about 15 seconds last we noticed.
Yep.
And he seems to be dropping. I think his game really is glitching quite badly.
Unfortunate after qualifying P2. Rusty Nish, however, has made that gap extend up to almost 5 seconds now.
Oh, true. He's really doing well.
Accelerate.
He's on medium ERS as well. So saving his ERS, now he's on low. Doing well.
Clearly, accelerate pitted 1 lap before the safety car came out. So he's on the hards. Do you think we'll actually see him have the advantage going into the last set of laps?
I feel like he might, although if Vix and Rustinish are currently, they don't seem to be pushing really hard. So I feel like they want to make the medium stick till the end. So plus they've got the car advantage as well. The Toro Rosso is quite bad on the straights and in the corners. So I feel like if they conserve tires now, they'll be comfortable till the end, and Accelerate won't have that much of an advantage. But Accelerate will have to push really hard till the end.
Clearly he has to. And meanwhile, as you were depicting all that for us, Srivatsan made that move on Siknig, which I was about to say. Siknig actually let his teammate by, but seemed like he was taking the fight to Srivatsan a few corners ago.
Okay, so this will be interesting to watch. Then maybe if Siknig begins dropping back, then we'll know that he let him pass. Maybe maybe Srivatsan's really fast, so he wants Srivatsan to put pressure on Mr. Vex. So force Mr. Vex into a mistake, and then Siknig 3-second time penalty. He doesn't seem to be doing well at all.
Yep. And now he's got Seto RC18 to worry about him. Ferrello closing in on Seto RC18 as well. All those 3 drivers within a second of each other.
Brilliant, sir.
3-second time penalty for Harry Rocks 24. The Racing Points not having their day at Sochi.
Not at all. I didn't really notice what happened to Harry Rocks. Why exactly did he drop down?
He had an incident, if my memory serves me right. That was along with the Thunderbird incident parked on track, and he went off track multiple times as well.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's sad.
Yep. Truly.
But he's known to catch up from unwinnable positions, so 10 laps, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Another safety car.
Probably, but these 3 drivers closer than ever. Seto RC18 making that move on Siknig, wheel to wheel going in the next corner, and could it be a double overtake as Ferrello looking at both drivers contact there.
Contact again.
Siknig trying to hold on.
Be having a bad time with the Red Bulls.
Yep, Seto RC18 and Red Bull, not an ideal story for him to tell his friends, but Seto RC18 taking that fight once again, wheel to wheel. It's so incredible to see these drivers fight, and he spun!
He spins.
Disaster! Seto RC18 spins and loses position, 2 positions in fact. Siknig.
This is one of the things I hate about a lot of drivers. They don't concede space. I mean, you got to give the driver behind the space, especially when you see the red proximity arrow on the screen. It's ethics. You just have to concede a little space. You can't just close the door.
Clearly, yep. Siknig, being who he is, an incredible driver, but an aggressive one at that, did close the door, and that caused the spin for Seto RC18. He's running P9 now after that fight with the Red Bulls.
And 8 seconds behind Thunderbird. That's cost him a lot.
A bad exit there for Siknig. On the tail, he's got Ferrello. And he could possibly look at the difference in performance. You can actually notice Ferrello struggling on track in that realistic performance, Williams.
Absolutely. And Ferrello, a little smart move there. He backed off a little bit before actually trying to be, as ambitious as he is. But he has DRS now, so this could get interesting.
Yeah. On his tail, slipstream.
Oh, brilliant.
Brilliant stuff. Wheel to wheel going in the next couple of corners, shuts the door and spins another competitor. Siknig, what are you doing out there?
This is exactly what I'm talking about. You have to leave a space. You always have to leave a space. If Fernando Alonso was watching this, he'd be spinning right now. He'd be spinning like crazy.
3-second time penalty for freeze. And yep, Fernando Alonso will be doing what he always does. Thunderbird in the Toro Rosso. Next up, Guts, do you think he can actually pull off an overtake? We've seen two drivers get caught off guard by Sicknig, like right in front of our faces. So, well, let's see if Thunderbird can take the fight to him.
I feel like, see, the thing is, the Toro Rosso is a lot slower on the straights as well. So I feel like if you want to overtake Sicknig at this stage of the race, you kind of have to do it much before the turn actually begins on the DRS straight.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise he's going to drive into you and it's going to be bad. I've seen two drivers suffer today already.
Yep, clearly. And Thunderbird is the only competitor close enough to his, to another on track. The smallest gap between the two, just over a second.
It's catching up quite quickly.
A 7.5 second gap now between Rusty Nish and Vic by 6.
Wow, Misha is doing well.
Yep. Yes, he is. And looks like 8 laps to go. Thunderbird pushing it to the limit. Look how close he was to the wall there.
Oh, through that penalty for that.
Unfortunate. But Seto RC18, Pirello behind, and a 7-second gap between the two.
Vix 356 seems to be falling behind. I think he doesn't really have ERS as well. I mean, it's really low. His battery is really low, and Misha is cruising on the low ERS mode.
Holding on. But the race lead, not from start to finish, his closest competitor was Freeze, and then it was only Cuppy. Only Cuppy got disqualified. Freeze went down the pack after an ambitious move in Sector 1. So clearly, we could possibly see Rusty Nish be a 3-time winner. And looks like...
God, this time it's Sicknig and Thunderbird.
Oh my god, not again. But this time it was Sicknig who got caught off guard. And Sicknig has DNF. Sector 3 goes yellow.
Painful.
Let's jump on to IROX 24. We should be able to see him. Nope. Yep, we will see him in the entrance of Sector 3. But no, the car has been cleared. Which means Sicknig is out of this race.
I would have expected a safety car there. Would have spiced things up a little.
The game has a mind of its own.
But then again, he did kind of retire off track. There's a lot of area there, a lot of free space there. So
shouldn't have been a real issue.
True. But there's still one Red Bull in a very strong position.
We got Propsy in the chat saying GP2 engine because of Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, Mr. X is gonna feel that.
Yep.
GP2 engine in the McLaren.
Yep, GP2 engine. Currently as we stand, we got Rusty Nish in the race lead. 7 laps to go. Vic 356, almost 10 seconds. The gap between the two. Accelerate on the hards in P3. He should rack up a decent amount of points to keep him P3. In fact, actually put him P2 in the driver standings.
Would be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's making things at the top really interesting.
Clearly. Seto RC18. Yep, go ahead.
At this stage, I don't really think we can predict who the champion's gonna be.
I made a bold prediction saying that the top 3 will remain KDB, Big Man Joe and Accelerate, and everyone was like, no, that ain't happening. So clearly, if Rusty Nish wins this one, and if he actually ends up being on the podium multiple times going in the next couple of races, a fight for sure it's going to turn out to be.
Definitely.
Thunderbird running top 6. I think the last time he was running in a position higher than 7th was in Monaco. And he was fighting Cygnus Raghavan's AI back there, and coincidentally you were in the commentator's box as well.
Oh yeah, I was for a while. I retired from the race.
Yep.
Thunderbird last I remember his he had a good finish in Belgium.
Okay.
I think he finished P5.
Oh, okay. All right.
I remember because I was battling with him for that P5 position. And then my unfortunate last lap incident with Vix 356. I had to retire.
Disaster strikes to the drivers of the Bwoah Racing League every now and then, doesn't it?
More often than not.
Yeah. 3-second time penalty for Thunderbird, who we were just talking about. His best finish till date was P4. Podium if Vex, Srivatsan and Accelerate mess up.
So I think from what we've seen, Thunderbird has a lot more penalties than Shrivi, Mr. Vex. And Accelerate, I don't think he has a single penalty. Thunderbird may not finish above the drivers above him, but has a chance of dropping below RB Ferrello if RB Ferrello keeps up this gap, which is brilliant.
Okay. Quite the 5 laps we've got left. And right now, Ferrello is the only driver, surprising enough, to Thunderbird with the shortest gap on track. But that gap he has to close in a Williams.
Difficult, but the way he's driving, not impossible.
Clearly. 2-second gap now. And it's make him pick between 1 second and 2 seconds. But Freeze, like you said, made that climb all the way till P8.
That Mercedes power is everything. It's everything, absolutely everything.
All the drivers are going off track in this part of the track, which we just saw.
So here what happens is there's a little runoff area there where you can actually go off the track a little bit, but too much you get a warning or a penalty. Problem is if they have to try and go off as much as they can, as legally as they can, because you don't lose a lot of time because of it.
Okay.
So to minimize time, typically you tend to go a lot farther off that part of the track.
Good stuff. Clearly that explains why all the drivers are pushing to the limit through that part of the track. Mr. Vex starting P4. He's been on the podium at the race to 0 hour. He has...
And BRL as well,
Yep.
Belgium.
He has been on the podium in the league as well. Can he make that move on Accelerate? This is not the first time we've seen these two drivers close together. Even in Singapore, they were fighting for position.
Oh, definitely. Singapore is a track that Mr. Vex really likes. So, I mean, now we just got to see. It's all about the penalties. I think Accelerate has 1 penalty. Mr. Vex has a lot more. So, unless Mr. Vex can make a move and Accelerate and go far ahead by about 5-6 seconds, then he gets a podium. Otherwise, the top 4 stay as it is. I think the winner is pretty much set right now.
Okay.
At this stage, unless Rastinish makes a mistake, it's him who's going to win the race.
Right.
He's got a great lead over Vix 356 as well. Although Accelerate seems to be catching up to Vix 356, so I have a feeling Vix is sort of struggling with something.
Okay, clearly. And Mr. Vex making that climb himself as well. Ferrello closing the gap into Thunderbird. It's going from sector to sector. Seemed like he's really strong between sector 1 and 2, but after that, that gap only extends.
So I think he's losing a lot of time on the straights.
Yeah, of course.
Otherwise, he seems to be catching up in sector 3 because that's where a lot of the turns are, like smaller straights.
And Freeze battling with his car there through that corner. 2-second gap. He's got Ferrello next up. Okay, this should be an easy picking for the Mercedes driver.
That Mercedes engine. Yeah. But different cars.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to
That's
watch.
why I said questionably competitive. Questionably competitive. Yeah, I mean, Accelerate is running P3 on the hards, and I mentioned this before. he pitted 1 lap before the safety car came out. Do you think that was a wise move though? Because I was actually, and because he dropped down P10, I wonder what would have happened if the safety car didn't come out and he would have come out at P10 and probably the drivers wouldn't have pitted anytime sooner.
So I think the fact that he came out that he came into the pits a lap before the safety car doesn't make that much of a difference, because either way he would not have had much tire wear, because he was running on the lowest fuel mixture and the lowest. I'm assuming he was running on the lowest fuel mixture, and he would have definitely been running in the lowest DRS mode as well. So no pressure on the tires for those safety car laps. Plus the hards have a lot more life than the mediums. So I feel like it's pretty decent. Not a bad move, to be honest. He still has P3.
Yeah.
No loss.
And bad exit from Thunderbird. Yep. Ferrello almost made that move. But right now, if these two keep battling, they'll have a Mercedes to worry about.
Even more painful for Thunderbird.
A three-way battle going in the next part of the track for sure. Oh, look how close Freeze just got within the narrow corners.
Oh my god, this is gonna be good. And Nishchay picks up his first penalty. 3 seconds.
And Toro Rosso, Williams and Mercedes AMG going through turn 1 and 2.
DRS only for the Williams though. Or does the Mercedes have DRS? Oh yes, he did have DRS.
Down the inside, Thunderbird goes wide, goes off track. Ferrello will have that position. Freeze gets that position. It was a double overtake, so to speak. Toro Rosso goes down the order.
Thunderbird let them pass because he could not rejoin the track unsafely. So he had to concede that position, and Freeze makes another move.
Goes wide, but I don't think that should matter unless an ambitious Ferrello takes that fight all the more, but goes wide himself, which could cost him position.
And Freeze makes it stick. This is perfect. He's just climbed.
2
Horrible
positions.
start, but what a climb.
2 positions in a matter of corners. See, Watson is up next, the driver who he had an incident with, but that 8-second gap, we may not see them really fighting for position anytime soon, because we are on the penultimate lap already.
True. I think these are how the positions will be, unless of course Srivatsan makes a mistake and Freeze capitalizes on that.
And I feel it's going to be a bunch of switching in positions as the final lap begins anytime now between Toro Rosso and the Williams. Ferrello on the hard tires also. Thunderbird on the mediums.
So Ferrello will have a bit of a disadvantage here.
Technically should. But he's pushed that Williams to the limit. Quite the teammate he's got, KDB.
Oh, KDB is an absolutely brilliant racer. And Thunderbird has he fallen back quite a lot? Yeah, he's not even in DRS range anymore.
Yes, he has. And meanwhile, Ferrello holding on to that seconds gap between him and Freeze. But probably right about now, that gap should increase.
True. But he will have DRS in the next straight.
Yep, but meanwhile, up in front, Accelerate is taking the fight to X356 within a second of the driver in front of him.
Caught up quite quickly.
Yep, sector 1 goes yellow, and I wonder which driver that is. Looks like it was just a Racing Point doing nothing, but Ferrello closing that gap as well as we are on board Accelerate. Half a second's gap.
They begin the final lap, both of them, and Accelerate will have DRS. Feeding off the slipstream of Vix 356. He's got DRS, he's closing in.
Closer than
Comes
ever.
around. Oh, good defending by Vix 356.
Contact there a bit.
But clean racing. Accelerate back off.
The 356 just manages to hold it.
There's another straight coming up in a few turns, and Accelerate will have DRS again, and that's a much longer straight.
But again, straight line speed. Toro Rosso, not the best of cases.
Neither is the Renault, but I mean, let's see what happens. Honda versus Renault.
VC56 goes a bit wide there. Marox 94 seems to have disconnected. A mixture of feelings when it comes, a mix of feelings when it comes to the race itself for the Racing Point drivers. And he is trying around the outside on his tail.
He's close.
Close
Slipstream as well. He's come out and he makes the move.
Yep, down the inside. Seems like VC56 is glitching like he had mentioned prior to the race itself. But across the line comes Rusty Nish as the 3-time race winner, putting himself right next to Accelerate, Big Man Joe and KDB.
Grazie ragazzi for Ferrari it is.
Oh, in fact, my mistake. Rusty Nish is actually for the first time a 3-time race winner in the BRL. He's the only driver to have won thrice in the league.
Brilliant stuff, yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
Incredible. Accelerate gets that P2 position at the final lap.
Coming in and Srivatsan P5.
Freeze across the line, doesn't make any jumps. Ferrello across the line makes that jump.
Yep, P6, brilliant by the Williams driver. Absolutely brilliant.
Thunderbird across the line, stays P8, Setu RC18. Last corner, cross the line, no jump whatsoever. VK, our reserve driver, was here today racing in the car of Big Man Joe. Decent race, P10 points finish, so he'll be glad.
True. Looks like everybody here gets points.
Yeah, everybody
Harry
gets.
Rock's disconnected as well, so
The race itself, what race it's been. We got a 3-time race winner for the first time in the league.
history in the making.
Yep, lots to come, lots to come. How would you rate this race in a scale of 10? Honestly, not for you, but for the race overall.
Yeah, for me it was a 0, but
Yeah.
For the race overall, I'd say about a 7. Would have been fun with another safety car.
Because
And the battle at the top was a little boring because Nisha was able to quite easily pull away.
yeah, but in the beginning when Freeze was running and Srivatsan was running in the front, it was quite the battle. Because today, Rusty Nish, 3-time race winner for the first time in the league. Someone's won a race for thrice. And the Toro Rosso of Accelerate not new to the podium. And Vic 356, after a while now, is on the podium once again.
Well deserved. And despite the glitches in his game, I think it's pretty awesome that he got a podium.
Brilliant stuff by the drivers as always. And hopefully next time around, we see you on the podium for the very first time, Gouts.
I've been hoping for many races, but yes.
You're probably out of the handful of drivers who ever led the race, you're one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I led a whole 10 laps in Hungary, I think.
Yeah. Yes, you did. Thanks for joining me, Gouts. Hopefully we do this more often. But of course, Rusty Nish, race winner at the Russian GP, Big Man Joe and KDB have quite the fight in their hands as Accelerate in P2, points finish, brilliant points finish at that. And for the handful of y'all who joined us for the live, thank you very much for staying till the end. We'll see you next weekend. Cheers.
Cheers, thank you.